Welcome back to the Draped Dress YouTube channel. In today's class, we're going to learn how to make this beautiful deep basque dress. You can see how deep the basque we have in front and back is, and I'm going to take you through how to cut and sew this using freehand method. So I'm not going to be using a pattern for this. I'm going to be cutting directly on our fabric, and I'll take you through how to cut it to achieve something this beautiful. If this is something you like to learn, kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. For this tutorial, I'm going to be working with this Anstus fabric and this plain crepe fabric. So the plain crepe is going to be for the upper part, while the pattern is going to be for the lower part. So I have my pattern ready. It's just a regular basic bodice with a waist dart and bust dart. This is the front and this is the back with the waist dart, and I have done all the manipulations to make sure that I don't have any gaping at my center back. So it's just a regular bodice, just the way we draft it. I have several of a tutorial like this on my channel. So what I'm going to do now is to create the deep basque that we have on the dress. So I'm going to start by creating it on the front first. Then from there, I'm going to do the same thing for the back. So here you can cut through your dart, but I'm just going to be holding my dart when I draft on my fabric, when I transfer to my fabric. So I'm not going to be cutting through it. But if you are working with a very stretchy fabric, you may not need to add that. My fabric is not stretchy. That's why I have all these darts. So I'm here to decide on the neckline that I'm working with. But for now, I'm going to come down by, I have 3 inches on the waist. So for the depth, I'm going to come down by 4.5 because I don't want it too high. And then I'm going to take my curved ruler and then create a neckline for that. So that's going to be my front neckline. So to create this basque effect, I'm going to come down from my waistline. I'm going to come down by around 15 inches. It depends on how deep you want it to be, basically on the shape, how, I don't know, how V you want it to be. So for me, from 12 inches upward is going to show well. So if you don't want it too deep, you can do 12 inches. So it depends on how deep you want it to be, like I said. So from my waistline, from 12 inches is going to, of course, show very well. So it's totally up to you. But for me, I think around 15 inches is fine. So from my waistline, I'm going to come down by 15 inches, and then I'm going to connect that to my side. So this pattern already have a seam allowance. So this is the seam allowance. So this is where my actual waist is. So I'm just going to take my ruler and create a V shape there. Okay, can you see that? So this is the shape that I'm working with for the front. So go ahead now and grab your scissors and cut that. So now you need to know the length that we have here from your shoulder, because that is going to assist you when you are drafting the skirt part. Okay, so this is where my seam allowance stops. So this is the shape that I have for the front. So for the back, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come down by the same 15 inches that I used for the front. So from my waistline at the back as well, I'm going to come down by 15 inches because I want my V to really show well. So here I'm going to come down by 15 inches, and then again I'm going to connect that to my waistline. If you have a long ruler that can take it all at once, you may not need to do this, but my ruler is not that long, so that's why I'm dividing it with my tape. So here now you are going to complete it, and this is my seam allowance. So this is what I have for the back. So I'm going to take this into my zipper allowance as well. This is my zipper allowance. And then for the neckline at the back, I'm just going to come down by around 2 inches is fine for me. And then I'm going to take my ruler and then I'll connect that as well. So this is my neckline for the back, and then you're going to mark that into your zipper allowance. If you're also using a stretchy fabric, if it's really stretchy, you may not need to add zipper to it, so you will not need all these allowances. But like I said, my fabric is not that stretchy, it just has a little stretch to it, so that's why I'm having all of this. So I'm going to come to the lower part now, and then I'll go ahead and create this V shape, okay, for the back. So you can see how pronounced my V is. That is exactly how I want it to be. So this is my pattern for the back, and this is my pattern for the front. So now by the time I close the bust that I have here, I'm going to have the same measurement by the side, so you can see. So once you close your bust dart, just like I did here, your side seam is going to rhyme. So what I'm going to do now is to go ahead and cut this out on my fabric, and then I'm going to transfer the darts where they are supposed to be. That's because I'm not cutting through it. I'm just going to be sewing the darts on my fabric. So when I'm done with that, we'll go over to the skirt. Okay, so I have cut it out on my fabric just like I explained. This is the front. So make sure to cut the front unfold, and you can see that I have transferred all my darts. Okay, so once you do this, you're going to detach your paper, and then you take it to your sewing machine, and then you sew on the dart. So you can see this is my waist dart and this is my bust dart for the front, and I did the same thing for the back, and I also transferred my dart to my fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and hold the dart. So basically what I'm going to do is to hold my dart, then after that I'm going to sew it on the shoulder as well as the side. Okay, so once I'm done with that, I'm going to fix my sleeve. It's just a basic long sleeve, and I've already cut that as well. So I don't want this upper part to be too long because the main work is on the lower part, so I'm just quickly rushing through it. So after joining my shoulder and the side, this is my long sleeve. I'm going to join the long sleeve to it, then I'm going to bring it back so that we can work on the lower side. I've gone ahead to do all of this. Let me turn it to the wrong side so that I can see all that I did. I held my dart. This is the back, and for the front I held the back and the waist and the bust dart. So after that I fixed my sleeve, and then I sew it by the side. So I'm going to go ahead and weave off every part of that. And then for the center back, I closed it up to around the hip area, and then I fixed my zipper to it. So I'm going to cut facing, or you use your bias to pipe the neckline. So this is what I have so far. So you can go ahead now and give it a good press so that all the darts will relax, and then this puffy side is going to relax as well. So now for the skirt, you're going to measure what you have on the side here, that basque, that V part. I'm going to measure what I have here. So I'll take my tape now from my waistline. I'm going to measure what I have. Okay, so here I think I have around 20.5. I have around 20.5 inches. So depending on how full you want those gathers that you have there to be, you can multiply that by 2 or 3. So I think I'm just going to do maybe 2.5. Okay, so just make sure that you note that part. Another important measurement that you need is the length. Remember that I said you should take note of the length that you're going to have from the upper part, from the shoulder. Okay, so from the shoulder to where the V is. So here now I'm going to measure from my shoulder, which is here, all the way to where the back starts. So this is around 30.5. Okay, those are the two important measurements you're going to need for the skirt. The shoulder to where your basque stop, for me that's 30.5, and then you're going to need the measurements of this basque by the side. That was 20 inches for me, 20.5. So once you have that, you're going to bring in the fabric for the skirt. and then I'm going to put it on fold by 2. There are several ways you can cut this, by the way. So this method that I'm working with is a freehand method, and this with this method I'm not going to have any seam at the center front and center back. I'm only going to have my seam by the side. There's another method you can do that you will not have any side seam, so it's totally up to you and the method you wish to work with. If you want a another method, let me know in the comment section and I'm going to film a tutorial on it, but this method is very simple. So what you need to do is to fold your fabric into two. Okay, so for this I recommend that you use a stretchy fabric because the hem is not so wide, so that I can work easily in it. Or you can just open a slit by the side, but if you work with a stretchy fabric, it's going to be easier for you to work with. So now once you fold your fabric into four, we are cutting both front and back together. We're going to work with our hip measurements. The hip I'm working with is 46 inches. 46 divided by 4 is going to give me 11 and a half. So for his, you can add between 2 to 5, depending on how pencil you want the hem to be. But if you had excess, because it has a side seam, you will easily be able to adjust it. Okay, so to be on the safe side, I'm going to add enough allowance. Then if I don't like it, I can now trim it off. So now if I'm working with 11 and a half, this is 11 and a half here, I'll go ahead now and add that that is allowance. So if I'm adding 3 to it, that's 14 and a half. So I can add 3 and a half, and that's going to leave me with 15 inches. Then I'm going to have my seam allowance. So I'm just going to work with this fabric that I have here. It's almost 2 yards of fabric. It's not up to 2 yards. So that is the width that I am working with. And the length of this fabric is 60 inches. So the first thing I'm going to do now is to take care of that basque that we have there. So what I'm going to do now is to note the full length that I want to work with. My full length, I want it to be around 62 inches. Okay, with seam allowance I want 60 inches, then I'm going to fold it with 2 inches, so I'll have 62 inches. You can see that I want it to be on the selvage, that's why I'm measuring upwards like this. So this is 62 inches. You can see this is 62 inches. Now you are going to mark where your that length, where it stopped, that basque. Okay, you know it's going to be the continuation. This skirt is going to be the continuation of the top. So where this basque first stop, where we measure, that was 30 inches, 30.5. So here I'm going to mark that 30.5 here, and then I'm going to make that into a straight line. Okay, so once you mark that 30.5 there, you are going to make it into a straight line. Then now we are going to work on the basque, on the gathers that we will have at the basque. This is the center, this is the side. The side is where you have your fold points. So now to work on the basque, I'm simply going to shift this part downwards. Okay, this is the continuation of our length. The half length stops at 30 inches, and then this lower part is just the continuation to make a full gown. But remember that we are going to have shortage here if we don't include this part, which is going to be the basque area. So now to do that, you need the measurement of that basque. Remember, this is just quarter of the basque. It's folded by 4. We have 2 for the front, 2 for the back. That's quarter. For this as well, this side is going to be the quarter because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 fold. I hope we understand that. So now I have measured mine, and mine measures 20 inches. So I said I want to multiply it by 2.5. If you want the gather to be full, you can multiply by 3 inches. You can even do 2 inches. If you don't want it to be, you can multiply by 2 inches if you don't want your gathers to be so full. So if you are multiplying by 2 inches, that's 20 multiplied by 2. That's going to give me 40. So I'm going to go ahead now and fold this thing like this. Okay, and make 40 inches. But like I said, my fabric is not so long. I'm working with just around, not up to 2 years, around 2 years of fabric. So I'm just going to leave it like this. Okay, you can see how I'm slanting it. I'm slanting my tape rule like this. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and connect. So this part is going to be the part that I'm going to gather to my V shape. Remember, it's supposed to be 20 inches. So all this excess that I have here is what I'm going to gather to make up for the gathers and the drapes that we are going to be forming by the side. So I'm going to connect it and see how I'm connecting it, and then I'm going to cut it off. Okay, don't be confused. This fabric is by 60. We have already done the half length. So after marking the half length, this is our half length, but it's more than our waistline because it has a very deep basque effect. So it stops here, the upper part stops here, which was 30 inches. So the first thing I did on the skirt fabric was to complete my full length. My full length is supposed to be 62. I have 30 inches already here. So from here now, from this line that we see here, I completed it with 32 inches to make up 62. So the excess that I have upwards, that's what I am using to form a gather that I'm going to be sewing on my basque. I hope you understand that. So you can see now that this is the center. This is the center fold. So I made sure to cut it in a basque effect, just like this, so that I can easily gather it to my center fold. So make sure that the part that is deep is the center. That's where your basque is. Then the part that is high is going to be your side seam. So once you are done with that, you're going to grab your scissors and then you're going to cut this out. So I'm going to go ahead now and cut this out, and I'm going to also separate the side. Remember that I said this is going to have a side seam, so you can see what we have there. So all of this now, we are going to gather it back into our side seam. So you are going to make sure that the side is opened as well. I've gone ahead to open it by the side, you can see. So once you gather all of this now, it's going to form a little drape by the side here. So because you've opened it, the front and back now are separate. So if you open it out, this is what it's going to look like. This is the center with the V. So now you're going to bring in your upper part. The upper part now, you can see that the V, it will just sit well inside this like this. Then the next thing to do now is to gather the excess by the sides. Okay, you're going to gather the excess by the side. Please make sure you gather it evenly. Then you're going to do the same thing for the back as well. The second part that we have here, I'm going to gather it by the side, then you sew it by the side. So once you gather it around the basque that you have, this is what it looks like. You gather it both at the front and at the back, and you're going to have something looking this beautiful. I hope you enjoy making this beautiful dress with me. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.